dog on this evening. My name is Steve Dainard, and I am coming to you from the lovely Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. It's about 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll get started now. So just to got you Tempest, thanks very much. I just want to bring everyone up to speed here. This standard presentation is made by ESSFTA, the English Springer Spaniel Field Trial Association, which is the parent club for the English Springer Spaniel in the US. So we're going to go through this. I mean, the standard is amazing. It's very descriptive, etc. And they've done a great job at presenting the standard for judges' education purposes in logical and sequential order for everyone to understand. And at the end, I've done a little bit of a snapshot. I had a chance to review again the FCI and the CKC standards, and have brought forward a couple of differences that we can discuss, and a couple other photographs from dogs from throughout the world, so we can look to be able to compare those as well as and complement our learning. So our brief agenda for this evening is an introduction by myself, what our goals are, talk a little bit about the history and the function of the breed, understanding, basic definitions that are critical to understanding and evaluating not only, an English Springer Spaniel, but judging in general. And then we'll get into the correct elements for English Springer Spaniel breed type. So my name is Steve Dainard. I have been involved with English Springer Spaniels since the late 70s. My family got into the breed. We originally had flat-coated retrievers, and my dad did a lot of hunting, and he saw the Springers work in the field and thought that he wanted, our next breed to be something that was smaller. And from there, we got our first field-bred English Springer Spaniel, and then evolved into the conformation world through my aunt and uncle, who originally had bull terriers and Shih Tzu, and they introduced us to the world of conformation dog shows, and that got us. I was hooked. I was 13 years old and kind of really never looked back. I've been lucky. My wife Kelly gravitated towards being doggy, quote unquote, through my affiliation with the purebred dog world, and she loves it just as much as I do, and is quite regularly travels with me to shows. I was lucky enough to have great success in Canada and in the U.S. as well, with Springers that I either had bred and or owned and or showed. We've had great notoriety in Canada in particular. I was lucky enough to judge the ESSFTA National Specialty in 2014, had a lovely entry of English Springer Spaniels, and it will be a highlight for me in my breed, and truly was an honor. We've also owned Australian Shepherds and had a couple of litters of those as well. I really appreciate that breed as well. I've been involved with Pam Bruce recently with Judges Without Borders. It was an initiative we were very passionate about and wanting to get off the ground, and talk to colleagues of ours, throughout the world, and not just be limited or held down by, a CKC or an AKC, perspective. And I think truly there are no borders, and I'm sure Pam would agree with me. And so we're very passionate about getting this initiative off the ground and evolving into more online presentations, next year. So I've also been involved with the Canadian Dog Judges Association. I have a busy work life as well in my second career, and I've had the pleasure as an all-breed judge of judging in Canada, United States, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Australia, South Korea, China, and what an awesome way to be able to spread your passion for dogs by being honored by judging in other countries. So I've had a chance to see a lot of English Springer Spaniels in various countries, and that truly is a highlight for me as well. So again, we're talk a little bit about an overview of the breed, what the English Springer Spaniel was bred for, and we're going to try to get you up to speed, and as Springer literate as possible. Please use the chat area if you have any questions, or you'd like me to be able to go back, to discuss a certain aspect in the breed. I'd be more than happy to do that. This is very informal and very conversational in nature, so please feel free to chime in whenever you feel as if you have something that needs to be reviewed again. So English Springer Spaniels have been around for a long time, and really English Springer Spaniels are the largest of the Flushing Spaniels. There's a lot of relatedness through to the other woodcock cockers in particular. Some of the earliest imports to North America from England really came to Canada in the early 20s. There were a lot of predominant Canadian breeders that U.S. breeders actually got their stock from, and so even to this day, again, there really are no borders for our breed. There have been a lot of excellent Canadian dogs utilized by American breeders, and not only American breeders, but also specifically in Australia and South America. Over the last 25 years, we've really, had a positive mark on the breed, in particular in the area of temperament. We'll get into discussing temperament and some issues that have evolved in the breed over the last 25, 30 years, and my observation on that as well. At the end of the day, though, what we're really going to try to instill in your mind's eye is that the English Springer Spaniel really is a versatile, well-rounded dog. And even though many may choose not to use them in the field because of lifestyle, et cetera, they really are capable of still performing in the field to this day. And I'll hear lots of confirmation people who will put their dogs in a field situation and are shocked at how intuitive it is for them to be able to gravitate, towards, that side of what they were bred to do. And it really is something to be able to see. The ESSFTA, has really gone into a lot of explanation here on understanding that really, we're looking at, not only type or the style of Springer that should be typical, in your mind's eye, but also to really focusing on soundness, okay? And then ultimately, the quality of a dog is a combination of type, soundness, and style. I think that's pretty straightforward stuff that applies to many breeds, not only the English Springer Spaniel. Again, we're focusing here on functionality. Okay, a Springer should look and have heart for days. It should be in well muscular condition. Should have quality, correct coat type to be able to do what it was bred for, and it must be functional. And whether that applies to field work or being an active member of your family, you really do see the resiliency of the breed kind of come forward in whatever situation they are put in, and above all, we really want to focus that on that breeders and in particular judges are not losing sight of the fact that temperament is above all else a number one primary consideration. And so temperament isn't just really, whether a dog is going to growl at you or, not recover from a situation that they're unfamiliar with. We're looking for a temperament that has resiliency. And we can recognize the fact that a young dog or a dog that maybe has not been socialized very well may respond negatively in certain situations, especially, if it's new to them. But the true test of stability and temperament is how that animal responds and recovers from that negative situation. Okay, we're not looking for dogs who are going to hit the ground and stay there in a submissive situation. We look for a lot of heart. Okay, and when you see an English Springer Spaniel that has that resiliency of temperament, it really adds to the overall athleticism and workability and overall picture in your mind's eye of what the true ultimate test of an English Springer Spaniel is. And when you see it, you're never going to forget it. Some things that we really want to stress as well, as far as the standard is concerned, the standard stresses balance. It stresses, the dog as being compact and sturdy and of a medium size. And so as we move into this, you're going to see that the word, balance and symmetry and moderation are used fairly regularly in the standard. Okay, and one thing we really want to draw to judges' attentions and also breeders' attention as well is that those words that are missing are elegant and extreme. So you need to keep in your mind's eye that an English Springer Spaniel is not settery in style. Okay, we're not looking for long bone lengths, and when we get into the anatomy of the dogs and what's ideal, we'll revisit that as well. But please keep in your mind's eye that things like elegant and extreme, we're not an Irish setter. Okay, we're not looking for those long bone lengths. Okay, this really is truly a moderate spaniel in excellent condition, that covers ground and is of a medium moderate size. Okay. And again, this here is a dog from Wisconsin, from a few years ago, who is a combination of North American and European bloodlines. He was used very extensively in the Midwest, and confirmation was a very good dog and had all of his hunting titles as well, and was able to really do everything. And in our mind's eye, that's what you're looking for, Springer. Whether you choose to field work again really is a personal choice. But the issue is that a Springer should be able to perform that function intuitively. Again, so we're going to look at general appearance, head and expression, movement, and temperament are really the four main considerations that are really help you get your head around a quality exhibit and be able to reward it appropriately when it presents itself to you in the ring, and not be able to miss it for sure. Okay. So the Springer again is a medium size, a spaniel. Dogs are 20s at the shoulder. There is an inch either way allowable, and then with bitches it's 19 inches, and again an inch either way. The challenge here is that when you see a 19-inch dog, it's never just only height at the shoulder. Really, what you see is that 1 inch is really proportional around the whole entire dog. So a 19-inch male will really appear many times to be more on the feminine side. Conversely, a dog that is on the higher end of the preferred height range at 21 inches tends to be larger overall as well. It's never again just at the wither solely. So when you have a male that is 19 compared to a male that is 21, regularly that can be quite shocking as far as overall difference is concerned. Both are acceptable, but just remember that a 20-inch dog is more ideal. There is no disqualification as far as height is concerned. These are recommended ideals. And similarly, if you get an English Springer Spaniel female that is 18 inches and you compare her to a bitch that's 20, or even more so a male that's 21, the size difference can really be shocking. So just remember that all are acceptable, and we're looking at gravitating back towards what the ideal is, and that's 20 inches for a dog and 19 inches for a bitch. And an inch either way, between a dog and a bitch isn't really a lot, but you're also going to see feminine characteristics, that are going to, in your mind's eye, say this is a bitch and definitely not a dog. We're looking for proportions to be approximately the same from the point of the shoulder to the buttocks. Slightly longer, in some cases, but generally we're looking at a square dog. The Canadian Kennel Club standard, is a little bit needs to be updated. What it talks about is the point of the shoulders to the point of the tail set to be approximately the same as the height of the shoulders. But when you get a dog of those proportions, they really do not look square. They look longer. So that part of the standard, in my opinion, needs to be updated. And generally speaking, this proportion here is accepted worldwide as being, ideal for, what proportions for an English Springer Spaniel are. Again, this just discusses from an anatomical perspective, what those ideal proportions are as well. And we have a 50-50 split, just like Dobermans and many working dogs. A lot of the anatomy in English Springer Spaniel is very similar to other breeds you will see in your sporting herding working combination. And then so understanding general canine and anatomy really goes a long way for judges that specialize in those groups, because now all you got to really kind of do is focus on the packaging, the key elements, the intrinsic breed characteristics that make a breed a good English Springer Spaniel, or a good Australian Shepherd, or what have you. So understanding canine anatomy is really key to helping you add on the icing to be able to then say this is a really good English Springer Spaniel. Again, our length of our necks is approximately, the same length as the length of the head. We're not looking again for a big, long, extreme, neck. That really is not typical for the breed. You'll get a lot of people who will want to breed for that, but really, again, just remember that there is no reference to elegance or extreme in our breed. So everything is more medium and moderate in nature. Okay. And again, we have, typical front end anatomy. We're looking for, a 45-degree layback of shoulder, and you're looking for 90 degrees, between where the shoulder meets the upper arm, and you're looking for those bone lengths to be approximately equal. Okay. Our breed, just like many other breeds, shorter upper arms, are definitely an issue, and can restrict, the forward motion of the animal. What I would ask you to also consider is that we're looking for a flatter shoulder. The set, of the shoulder to the neck is smooth and contoured and well muscled without being overdone or bulky. When you're examining English Springer Spaniel and you're going over the neck to shoulder transition, it should be fluid and smooth, and with no interruptions and no bulkiness, or no apparent areas that do not fit appropriately. So please pay attention to that as well. Again, big issue here. Again, we're looking for, the forelegs to be placed directly below the withers. Okay. You're not looking for a forward placement. The next slide, I think, talks to this as well. We're looking at here on placing, the box, the square box around the animal, and how you're going to look at those proportions, from a distance, when you evaluate, your line of dogs. And here, we're, the top exhibit is more correct as far as proportions are concerned. We're looking for, any length in the body to come from rib, not from loin. So you should have a shorter, stronger, well-muscled loin area. Again, you can see the 50-50 split between withers to elbow, elbow to ground. We're looking at, approximately the same length of body to height, from point of shoulder to point of buttocks, and again 45-degree layback of shoulder, with a 90-degree upper arm to scapula angle as well. You can see that the dog down below, they're saying that even though the front end is more correctly built, the loin in that case is a little bit too short. Okay. And then the dog on the lower right hand side has a straighter shoulder. You can see that those forelegs are placed more forward on the actual actual, anatomy of the dog, and then the loin is too long. It's interesting too. There's a really great illustration here that we're going to get to earlier. I'll never forget it. And you see a lot of similar references in other breed standards, and I'll make sure that I bring your attention to it when we get there as well. Again, moderate length of neck, a straight, strong, essentially level back, Um, I would ask you to consider that, many handlers will try to crank a dog into more of an extreme, silhouette, okay? And that's okay. I mean, I'll ask them to change it, et cetera, et cetera. I gather that people have their style as far as presentation is concerned, but what I would really, ask you to consider is how is that dog holding its shape on the go? When the dog is moving, okay, does this dog still look exaggerated? Does it still look as if it's got a ski slow top line? This is not an American Cocker. We are not looking for, an extremely angulated, top line. More level, flatter back, is kind of the outline that we're looking for. So please, ultimately the test on the move is really what you should be focusing more attention on than handler issues. What we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing a lot of shallowness in the rear assembly. A secondary thigh development is weaker. What you'll see a lot in that instance is you'll see, now we're not supposed to be as hammy as what an English Cocker is. We're not looking for that robust development rear anatomy. We do want musculature. We do want the dog to be in good condition, but we're not looking for the degree of hams that you're looking for on an English Cocker. So we're falling just short of that, but it still means that we're looking for a well-developed secondary thigh and an upper thigh area with shorter hocks, and we're going to get to the hocks here too. So again, when it comes to presentation, okay, we're supposed to have a rounded croup. Okay, so what that means is that the tail set is set on a little bit lower. If handlers choose to fill in this area with hair to create an illusion of this being straight and continual, I would urge you to check that and feel beyond the hair. Okay, again, personal preferences as far as presentation are concerned. It's your job to be able to get in there and dig and actually feel for what the dog has. Okay, at the end of the day, it would be a travesty if you really missed a good exhibit because you thought that the tail set was a little bit too high or the croup was a little bit too flat, when in actual fact it was just built up with hair. Okay, you're gonna see a lot of that. And so I would urge you to get in there and dig and actually feel for that rounded strength of loin area. It's instrumental for good running gear, and then so just get in there and check. Okay. Terrier tails, okay, are a big pet peeve of mine. Really, ideally for me, what I'm looking for is no more than a 45-degree tail carriage. Okay, this here is perfect. I would guess it's a little bit less than 45, but I would not want it to come up any higher than that. If you're looking for dogs that are undocked, really look at that first proportion of tail to a normal dock level, and then everything beyond that, I would urge you to consider just forgetting it. Okay. I know that it's hard to be able to train your eye to look beyond that, but when you get to other countries that really docking is a thing of the past, is where it's really going to kind of jump out. I mean, you're going to miss a lot of really great dogs for a feature that really is man-made by way of docking. Okay. And then so when you have a group of dogs in there and you have no choice because all of them are undocked, then clearly you can get a little more picky with tail carriages and things like that. But really when you're starting out and you're getting exposed to evaluating these dogs, just kind of forget what's beyond the normal dock level, if that makes sense to you. Ideally, I'd like it to be an extension where it's straight, it's not hooking back. I mean, that's really hard to get your head around. But you'd want, the full length tail to be an extension of the tail. I mean, I have an exception with it with setters as well. If it's hooking back towards the head, I mean, there's nothing more repulsive. And really, I do think that there is, another greater anatomical issue with the rear end assembly when a tail, does that. And we don't really see a lot of that in English Springer Spaniel, but I'm sure as we get into less, docking, we're going to see more of that for sure. As far as our feet are concerned, we're looking for it to be compact. We want strong pasterns. We do want a slight slope to that. We do not want, the pastern to be so upright, that the dog has no flexibility. Please remember that this is a dog that is meant to do field work and is meant to be agile and is meant to be able to, turn on a dime and have this natural athleticism to them. Well, you can't do that if your pasterns are too upright and there's no flexibility in that joint. Okay, that dog is going to injure themselves very quickly and be of no use to what their original purpose is. Okay. Again, our feet are webbed. We want well-developed pads, well-arched toes. Again, you don't have to check for webbing. I mean, it's not like a duck toller or what have you. But they're just pointing out that they are meant to go under the water as well as part of their normal function. But yeah, not like a toller. So here again, back to the rear end assembly. Okay, this is hidden here because I converted this to a PDF. But the point here is that if you draw a plumb line down from the point on the buttock, you really do want the back foot to come just behind the plumb line. Okay, so we see references like that in the standard poodle or the poodle standard as well. And so really the point here is that you're not looking for the hawk to be set so far beyond the point of the buttock. That is very extreme, and it's not typical for the rear end assembly for an English Springer Spaniel. Okay, so a couple things that I do when I look at a dog in profile on my first impression is I'm always looking for where the front leg, comes in proportion to the withers, and I'm always looking for where the hawk comes in proportion to the plumb line from the point of the buttock. Okay, and to me, those are the two indicators in my mind's eye that would talk to balance and moderation. Okay, if I'm seeing those forelegs be placed too far forward, or if I'm seeing the hocks being set too far back, okay, my gut is that that dog is not balanced, and that dog has a level of extremity based on wherever I'm noticing the anomaly. Okay. Um, Okay, so heads and expressions. So Lauren Howard from Kentucky is an awesome artist, and she did a lot of work on this illustrated standard, and it took her many years to get consensus and pull this together. And she's an amazing person. And there are a couple of references in here that, in my opinion, may be verging on being a little bit extreme. Okay, and so I'll point it out when we get to it. There's a couple of things or a couple of air issues in the head area, and when we get to the gate, there's a reference there too that to me seems a little bit on the extreme side. But you guys can be the judge. You can be the judge of that. Okay. Again, we're looking at the plane on the nose to the plane on the skull. They're saying parallel. There's a lot of discussion that we really should be kind of more approximating parallel. Okay, but essentially, you're looking for those planes to be complementary, and you're looking for them to be approximately in the same planes. Okay, we're looking for a level of foreface that is well developed, that's lean, We're not looking for snipiness. You're looking at the ear to be set on an approximate level, with the line of the eye. Again, we're not looking for a cockery ear set. We don't want it to be too low and too set too far back on, the head. So just draw an approximate line from the eye, and that's really where you're going to start to be able to see the ear leather fall beyond there. Okay. uh, Teeth meet in the scissors bite, when we get to it, the FCI standard actually, asks for, a full dentition. The AKC and the CKC standards, don't ask for that. I always like to check, to me, again, in my mind's eye, I'm not so sure that I would really, penalize a really good exhibit for missing, a couple of premolars. But, as a breeder, I'd really like to know, wouldn't it be nice if they had it, it's like saying, well, you know what, it's missing, that one bone in, the hock area, and that's why, it does that. But, I just like to be able to check if they're there. To me, also, too, missing dentition really talks to overall strength of muscle, and quite often what I see is in many breeds is that when there is, lacking dentition, especially on the bottom jaw, I observe an overall weakness to the bottom jaw as well. So, having a full dentition, I would suspect you're going to see a stronger, more robust muzzle, that probably for whatever breed you're looking at. But in Springers in particular, I would suggest that, you're going to see an adequate level of strength to the muzzle as well when you have a full complement of dentition. Okay. Another big issue, that we're seeing is that the skull here is approximately twice the width of the width of the muzzle. Okay. What we're seeing is we're seeing an exaggeration of stop. Okay. And there was a stud dog who was a top winner, and a beautiful dog in his own rights in the early 90s, who I think is number two top producing English Springer Spaniel in breed history. The challenge with that dog is that he had many beautiful elements, but there was one area, in my opinion, that he really needed improvement on, and he was very predominant as a sire for that quality, and or that feature, I should say, that characteristic. And what that was is that his brow was too excessive. There was too much stop. The stop was not moderate, and what that did was it gave a cockery appearance to the brow. So think about this. If you are increasing the angle of the stop, and what you're doing is you're changing the bony structure and the height of the brow. So what happens there is that also changes the shape of the eye. So I really want you guys to be cognizant of the fact that when you're evaluating English Springer Spaniel, okay, you should be looking for a moderate stop. And what you will see there is you'll also see a moderate brow, and you'll also see an eye that is oval or almond shaped. One of the standards here actually references almond. I think it's the FCI standard, where the AKC and the CKC standards reference more of an oval shape. Regardless, the point here is that it's not round. Okay. And I would suggest that if you're seeing a rounder eye, it's more than likely that you're seeing too much brow development and too much stop. Okay, so that is too cockery, and we're not looking for that. Okay, it's almost to the point, we're getting better, but we're almost to the point where, what, 10 or 15 years ago, it's all you could see, and it really does, do a disservice to the breed, because the new people to the breed think as if that's what the breed looks like, and many people who, have a longer history with the breed are saying no, you just don't know what a good head looks like. So it really is, as judges, for us to be custodians of, breed standards, to recognize and reward, the key hallmark features of a breed when they're presented to us. And I would suggest to you that Springer Spaniel expression, which is really a component of eye shape, fire in their eye, shape placement, etc., are really a key feature in our breed that is to be rewarded when you see it. Okay. Um, we don't really have a lot of pigment issues. Sometimes you'll see on a younger exhibit maybe a lack of pigmentation in the nose area, especially in livers. If you see it in blacks, I'd be shocked. But I would think in livers, you may see some fleshy areas. It's less than ideal. And I would suggest that as the dog matures, quite often what we see is we see that that pigment will fill in and not become quite so evident when the dog is older. But again, in those dogs, you're just seeing small corners not filled in that fill in, as they get to be, 1.5, 2 years of age. Okay. Um, Sue Ellen, okay, she can't see hear me. So, anyways, so these issues are less than ideal. Okay, we're not looking for a narrow head. Okay, we're not looking for eyes to be too close together or an incorrect, color. This seems to be a little bit of an extreme to me, but really the point is that we're not looking for diverging planes. Okay, so again, approximating parallel, I would suggest to you is more ideal. Okay, again, we're looking for a natural fullness of foreface without being too wet. We're not looking for, and what you'll find a lot is dogs that are well boned, okay, you know, have a tendency to come with a lot of extra baggage. You'll see excessive flues. You'll see a level of wetness, in the neck area. Okay, that also is not ideal. Spaniel should have a natural fullness of foreface, okay, without being too excessive as neck wrinkles are concerned. Okay, we want a natural leanness through there. It's a very, very hard combination to get a well-boned dog without having too much excessive flues. Okay, on the opposite side, we're not looking for dogs to be snipey. Okay, we're looking for your those proportions of 50 to 2, and then a half to the back skull as well. So that's ideal. You can see in this dog here in the bottom right hand corner that really does give you an idea of the fact that that stop is too extreme. And what they're illustrating there as well is that you're getting a larger, rounder fullness of eye that comes along with all that excessive bony structure that's going on. It's not typical for an English Springer Spaniel. Okay. Okay, so as far as the bite is concerned, again, we've seen a couple of drop teeth come in. Again, we're looking for an overall, bite that's functional. Missing dentition, can be an issue, one or two teeth. Again, I would ask you to check for it, to keep it in perspective, but a bigger concern are, misaligned jaws, wry mouths. Those are definite no-nos, and I would suggest you're not going to see very much of that. When I did the national, in 2014, I saw very, very few bite issues. I was pleasantly surprised that bites were as good, because in the early 80s, mid 80s, there were some bite issues that were coming forward. In particular, in the middle two top incisors were dropping in behind the bottom incisors, with the rest of the bite being level or tight scissors. And so that seems to be have gone away. I really would suggest to you that you're not going to see very many bite issues, but certainly put it in perspective. If you're seeing a tooth that's missing or whatever, put it into your overall evaluation of the dog, and award appropriately. Okay, it would be a shame for you to be able to miss a really good English Springer Spaniel and place him lower because he was missing a premolar. Okay, I wouldn't do that personally. Okay, as far as gait is concerned, again, this is one of the illustrations I think is a little bit extreme. I think that this neck is a little bit too, forward reaching. It looks, and maybe it could be the coloring as well. It looks to be a little bit longer to me than the actual length of the skull. And I think that, I recognize they're trying to accentuate the fact that there is a natural roundness to the croup area, but I'm not so sure you're going to see a lot, a lot of this. Again, the bigger issue is that we're looking for, balance, reach, and drive, that is long and low. We're not looking for, please be cognizant of wasted motion. The paws too far, off the ground. That's definitely not ideal. So you're looking for good forward reaching. I would suggest to you that, if you drew a line down from the nose, you're looking at the paw to be approximating, that line, okay? And again, you're looking for that back pad to extend beyond the point of the hawk, okay? If you're seeing sickle hawks or you're seeing that back pad not extending beyond the hawk, I would suggest to you that the most likely culprit is too steep a croup. Okay, you're looking for that angle in the pelvis. You're looking. I would suggest it would be probably caused from a steeper croup. Okay, so take a look for that. Okay, that both of those are less than ideal, and also too, a shorter upper arm will produce a shorter reach in front. Again, evaluate those critical anatomical issues specifically on the go, because you can't fake that. You can potentially minimize it by certain ways you show, but you're never truly going to be able to make it go away. Okay. Again, there's nothing better than an English Springer Spaniel on a looser leash, with its head, carried, forward and up and moving forward. Okay. Free fluidity, agility, strength. I mean, there is nothing more impressive than that, in many breeds, but in particular, when I see it in my breed, it is to be rewarded. Okay. Mm, Well, English Springer Spaniels also do have a tendency to converge to a center line of gravity as speed increases as well. You might not get a chance to be able to evaluate that based on the size of, our rings these days in conformation. Okay, but you're looking for free flowing forward movement. You're looking for parallel hawks in the rear, not too close, not too wide. You want to see pads going away from you, and again, you're looking for the overall balance. And again, we talked about this earlier. Okay, you're looking to make sure that an English Springer Spaniel holds the outline standing, that when they're moving as well. And when you see it, make sure you reward it, because it really is breathtaking. Also too, if you're seeing handlers that are stringing up their dogs, this is your ring. I would suggest to you that you should stop the class, and make the handlers present the dogs on the go that is on a looser leash and allowing them to have their headspace. Okay, clearly, if the exhibits are younger and they're just not trained, see if they can give you moments of what you're asking for. Okay, but if the dog is mature and is ring wise and is a season special, then certainly expect nothing less than that from the handler. There's no reason why the dog should not be able to do that unless he's just physically not built to be able to carry himself like that. Yeah, I'd encourage a loose leash. Sometimes it's not always able you to do that, but please, ask the handlers to give you a couple of attempts at it, and see if you can see what you're looking for, and some things you can control and some things that you can't for sure. Okay, so temperament again. Okay, springers are resilient. They are faithful. You should not get the stink eye. You should not have, a dog, with a suspicious, look in their eye as you approach them. Our breed definitely, has had some temperament issues in the past. In particular, in the 1970s, 80s, we had an issue come forward called Springer Rage. I personally have never seen Rage, and there is a strong. I've seen a lot of aggressive Springers, but I've never truly seen Springer rage. And then, so how it's been described to me, actually, I lie. I think I probably have seen it once, and it was our first Springer that actually was field bred. And so there is a strong correlation between families of English Springer Spaniels that have predominance of epilepsy to rage. And what the thought is that English Springer Spaniels, that the rage is a manifestation of epilepsy that presents itself as aggression. And that the dog basically, goes into a catatonic state and is biting and growling, et cetera, and it's short-lived. And then when they snap out of it, it's as if they've completely forgot what's even happened. They're back to wagging their tail. They're back to being, the jovial, house pet. Okay. Springer people have really done a lot of work on improving temperament and also, minimizing the degree of incidence of epilepsy in pedigrees. So I think what we're seeing as a result, reduced numbers of reportings of rage, which makes sense if there is in true as a true correlation to epilepsy. But still does not mean you will not get an English Springer Spaniel that is aggressive. Okay, so please, be aware of that. And if you see any forms of aggression, it is not to be rewarded. Okay. Similarly, tail down, like, don't even place it. It is not typical for an English Springer Spaniel for the tail to be clamped. Okay. Do everything you can with a novice exhibit to try to be able to get the tail from an unclamped stage. Okay, you may not totally get it up, and if it were me, I would be happy that this handler was able to work it through from being completely clamped, like death clamp, to being slightly lifted off the body. But if the tail is not up at least level to the top line, I can't reward it. It's so untypical for the breed that I just wouldn't do it. Okay. And again, a tail that's clamped should never be rewarded, in as an English Springer Spaniel. Temperament, is number one for our breed, and please, pay attention to that when you're judging dogs. So the FCI standard actually has a disqualification for temperament. So aggressive or overly shy, and any dogs that clearly show physical or behavioral abnormalities shall be disqualified. The CKC and the AKC standard, talk about the importance of temperament, etc. There's actually no disqualification for aggressiveness or overly shy. Clearly, we do have options, as judges, just based on AKC or CKC judging rules and regulations, but the FCI standard actually, goes and points it out as a disqualifying issue. You can't excuse it. If a dog, is aggressive, then you're disqualifying it. Okay. And again, here, this illustration here really is representative of what we expect, as English Springer Spaniel people, as far as a breed is concerned. They're playful, they're jovial, they're high energy dogs, and they're just like an amazing family pet. They should be trusted. You should be able to look into their eyes and see a level of intelligence and sparkle and soulfulness with this soft yet strong, expression, and that truly, is a defining characteristic for our breed as well. Okay, playing together, carrying sticks together, that really is, again, what our breed is all about. Okay, so coat. Okay, so this is a real, stickler for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you as well. More is not always better, and so we'll talk about furnishings and coat quality and kind of what we're seeing, in the Springer ring. Um, Big issue as well is that markings are really irrelevant as far as the Springer is concerned. If you have a dog that has a lot of color on it, or a dog that really, has very little color and more white on it, all of them are acceptable. This illustration here, these are all the same dogs. They're just painted differently. Okay. And really, markings are hereditary, and many people will choose to breed for, the white collar and the full facial markings and the four white legs, etc. And they get them. But please do not pass over a dog because they're not marked as prettily as maybe some of the other dogs are. Okay. Um, and Again, with regards to facial markings, same thing. These are all exactly the same dogs. Okay, in the middle here, there's a tricolor. You'll get a degree of roning that happens. You may not see it regularly, but it can happen in the breed. There are varying levels of ticking as well that you'll see, like it's a dog on the top on the right hand side here too, and also too, whiter blazes. More white being represented on the body. This kind of looks more reminiscent of English Cocker markings. It's still acceptable in English Springer Spaniel. This dog here has no blaze and a lot of color on the muzzle. Again, perfectly acceptable. This one on the bottom right here has a thinner pencil, blaze, but then has, lipstick marking on the flues. Okay, I actually like it, and I think it's actually unique. All of these are acceptable. Okay. Again, another illustration as far as markings are concerned. Actually, one of Annie Clark did the Springer National, years ago in Minneapolis, and there was a big breeder, and she gave winner's dog to a lovely, lovely dog that had a full black stocking right down to the paw on the show side, and he was a beautiful dog, and again, so you can see these. I'd suggest that you will not see them regularly, but if you do see it, please don't think that it's an anomaly. It's totally acceptable. Okay. Um, ESSFTA has an illustrated standard. They've done an excellent job on it as well. If you get onto the website, the national website, you'll be able to order one. It's a great reference for you. I do not believe they offer it in a PDF version, but if you can pick up a copy of it, then by all means, do that, because it's a great reference for everyone as well. Okay. I went through the standards again to 3-country standards again today, and really just kind of pointed out some things that jumped out to me as being major differences in the standards. Okay. From all other perspectives, size, weight, proportions, all were really kind of the same. Oh, sorry, back to coat. Let's go back just one level here. What you can see here too is you're going to see that a lot of English Springer Spaniel specials in particular may have excessive coat. Okay. What I would suggest, or long flowing coat. Okay. What I would suggest to you is, please take a look at the quality of the coat before you make an evaluation on whether the coat is too long. Okay. We're supposed to have, like, a top coat and an undercoat. Okay. If your jacket has been completely scissored off, revealing, the duller, lighter, more cottony undercoat, that is reprehensible. Okay. You want to be able to have a texture to the outcoat, to the top coat, and you're supposed to have an undercoat as well. And so when you're looking at length of furnishings, please go in and feel for texture on furnishings as well. Okay. If the furnishing is lighter and cottonier and more voluminous, okay, that's incorrect. All right. Even with furnishings, there is supposed to be a level of outer, harsher guard hair, or textured, I should say, as opposed to harsher, more textured. Okay. That's the type of hair you want to keep. Okay. And then, so, unless somebody is going in onto their pants or onto their front leg panel and using thinning shears and cutting off all of the outer hair they should be keeping, okay, that really should be penalized. Okay. You want a quality of coat that also is a natural, insulator, for a dog in the field, but you also want a quality of outer coat, of top coat, that really is also a protector as well. Okay. So take a look for that before you make a judgment on whether or not, the length of furnishings is excessive. Check for quality of furnishings first. Okay. And then go from there. Okay. Um, so what I did is I pulled together some photographs, from dogs, from the UK, and also from dogs from North America, and also dogs, from Australia. And really, what I would suggest, there's a lot of discussion about the fact that, the English Springer Spaniel should, be broken into the North American Springer Spaniel versus the English Springer Spaniel. And really, when I look at the standards, there's really not that much difference, to them, in my opinion. And what I would suggest to you, that what we're seeing in a lot of these cases, are maybe more presentation issues. We're really seeing, the fact that the dogs that are on the bottom are from the UK, that I would suspect that if they were presented in a North American manner, that they could probably win here as well. The size, the proportions, all very similar. Maybe the dogs in the bottom are not as well stacked as far as a North American standard is concerned, or presentation standard is concerned, but really, they're not that different. Okay. The proportions are very similar. The necks are more forward reaching. There's, the length, of neck to length of muzzle, all the head quality issues we've been discussing are all evident on all of these dogs here. I would suggest also that maybe this dog in the top right hand corner may have a bit of an excessive brow. I'd like to be able to see it in person. It could just be hair, that's there. But again, this dog, these dogs here all have undocked tails. And I would suspect they carry them all very decently. And I did have had a chance to judge two of these dogs, the two dogs on the top, and they're very good moving dogs, and they're also very, very similar in a lot of aspects. So I would suggest to you that really a good English Springer Spaniel, regardless of country of presentation or pedigree, should still be exhibiting the proportion, size, movement elements that we've discussed throughout this presentation. Okay. And again, look beyond. Okay. So the dog in the top left-hand corner, would clearly be classified by many as, an American, bred and exhibited English Springer Spaniel. And you'd be right. But if you really, look at the fact that ticking and coat quality, et cetera, are really, sorry, ticking and markings are really just, not relevant in any capacity. Okay. The dog in the top left should have no bearing as far as preference is concerned for markings to the dogs that are on the bottom. It's exactly the same. Looking beyond that for proportion, size, balance, moderation, natural agility, temperament, all those other things we're talking about should be your truer indicator of how you're going to be able to place, those dogs on the day, than solely the fact that the top dog in the top left-hand corner can be classified as a quote unquote, American English Springer Spaniel. Okay. I really do think that, if you look at these dogs, okay, the hocks are approximately 1/3 the height at the pelvis. Okay. I really don't see any of these dogs, are not within that standard. I'm seeing, if you drop a plumb line down from the point of the buttocks on all these dogs, okay, that really the dog in the top left may be extended back a little bit more as far as presentation is concerned. But I know 100% for sure, because I've judged this dog, that if, he was standing there and you dropped a plumb line down, he would fall within the items that we discussed earlier in the presentation. As far as heads are concerned here, okay, the dog on the top left is a dog from Czechoslovakia. And, to me, what I really, really like about, this particular head study is there's a natural fullness of foreface without being excessive as far as flues are concerned. Okay, he may be verging a little bit, being a little bit wet for me, but this is also an 8-year-old dog, so he's fully mature. What I really like about him is his nose and the pigment, full open nostrils. Okay, I also think that his eye, color, and shape and placement are very, very appealing. I would suspect that maybe he has a little bit of too much hair on his brow. If I look at the eye shape and placement, it doesn't scream to me that the stop is excessive. Okay, I find this to be very, very appealing. The chiseling is well developed. The bony structure is padded without being excessive. The ears look as if they're definitely on line with a line from the eye. Very, very appealing. And really, the ticking is really irrelevant to me. It's not even a consideration for me when I look at this dog. Conversely, on the bottom right-hand side is a Springer female. I think she's probably about 3 or 4 years old here. You can definitely see now she's staring into the sun, so please don't evaluate, the eye. But the reason why I put this here is that you can kind of see as well that there is a feminine quality to. She still has, foreface. It's just not as well developed as her masculine counterpart. Okay, and again, beautiful markings. Okay, but really when I look at this, I don't look at this head study and say, wow, great markings. Okay, it's kind of the last thing that I really think about. Okay, I'm looking for that balance between muzzle to back skull. I'm looking for that moderate stop, that transition. Those qualities are more important than what the icing or the packaging is as far as markings are concerned. Again, the brow has a level of development that is moderate. The transition between the muzzle and the top skull, through the stop area is moderate. Yeah, very, 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 very appealing to me, regardless of country of origin. And here's a couple of side gate shots, top, North American bred, pedigree, etc. Maybe a little bit excessive. This reach here really is well beyond, but I also suspect that maybe this bitch, could have her head drop forward a little bit more, and maybe a little bit too much, distance off the ground here, but still balanced, and meeting, together in the middle, very well, not overreaching or not over driving as far as our underline is concerned. You can see that natural roundness to the loin area, the good angle of pelvis, okay, and a great tail carriage, okay, on a dog specimen, okay. This dog here down the bottom, okay, I would suspect is probably a longer cast animal, but still you can see again, a balanced reach and drive, okay, that 4 foot, coming, just beyond, the nose with really good head placement. It's a forward head motion and carriage. And then through the loin area here, maybe a little bit excessive, and the tail carriage starts out really, really well, comes a little bit high. I really wouldn't jeopardize that too much. There's a lot of really great things going on as far as this animal is concerned. So that's it. We are at the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for everyone for getting online here. Any questions, please, ask. I would say that the dog on the top left is well groomed and almost sculptured. The top right dog has also been scissored, and the two, yes, for sure, yeah. So again, Joy, just looking beyond that. Oh, please, before everyone goes, can you, because I'm a one-man show this evening, can you please send me a email to this email address, just so that I can take attendance, and then just send me a quick email saying all, the English Springer Spaniel presentation. I'll make sure that I get your certificates out to you in the next couple of days. I'm going to Toronto for the next 2 days for a conference. I'm actually leaving very early in the morning. So again, please send me an email. I'll get your certificates out to you. And if there's any questions, afterwards or whatever, please reach out to me, that email address, and I'll be sure to get back to you guys right away. So again, thanks very much, everyone. We have another presentation coming up next month, so please sit tight. I think Pam put a notice out there, but as we get closer to the date, we'll remind everyone, and we look forward to your continued support for our new venture. So thank you, everyone. Have an awesome night, and we will connect later.